In 2009, the Baxter Corporation allowed 72 kilograms of swine flu vaccine to become contaminated with live virus material prior to its shipment to 18 countries. One would think that an event of such magnitude would have been publicized widely throughout the world, with everybody demanding those responsible to become accountable. The fact that it was only reported in one newspaper is something to be deeply questioned. Jane Burgermester, a medical journalist who previously worked for the British medical journal, The Scientist, has chosen to single-handedly bring about a lawsuit against the Baxter Corporation. Again, this information has not reached the newspapers.
Can you just give a little bit of your background, the things that you shared with me personally?
I went to Edinburgh University, where I did English literature and language and a bit of philosophy and so on. And I came to Austria in the year 2000. I started work as an editor for a medical journal specializing in diabetes. And I quit that of my own free will and started writing for medical health for the British Medical Journal, The Scientist, Nature and so on. And so I acquired an understanding of the medical field and how to do research in this area. And then I eventually moved into renewable energy because I believe it's a tremendous potential for humanity. Until one day, this winter, a neighbour showed me the report in a local newspaper saying that Baxter had contaminated this vaccine material and 36 people had to go to hospital to be treated preventatively for the bird flu. And then, of course, I understood this was a tremendous threat, and that because biosafety level 3 regulations are in place in these sort of facilities, it can't have been an accident.
The claim holds weight because, according to the very laboratory protocols that are routine for vaccine makers, mixing a live virus biological weapon with vaccine material by accident is virtually impossible.
Swine?
Swine flu.
Oh, that's just rubbish.
I mean,
that is really rubbish. You know, it's not the swine flu that's dangerous, it's the injections. Because it's supposedly, it's not only swine, but it is human virus mixed with swine virus, mixed with bird virus.
We are tracking H1N1, and health officials here in the U.S. saying it's too soon to know if a one-shot vaccine for the virus will actually be effective. The U.S. is working on an inoculation that requires 2 doses, although China and Switzerland recently announced they may have a 1-dose version. We're told American officials will release their initial results from its vaccination studies and testing later this month. With me now, Dr. Kent Holtorf, who is an expert on infectious diseases. Doctor, thanks very much. We're going to put up on the screen the classic H1N1 symptoms, and I got this from the WHO and the CDC. If anybody exhibits these symptoms, what should they do? Should they go to the hospital? Should they see their doctor? What?
Well, the nice thing is it's showing that the H1N1 virus is losing its virulence.
So we saw this as it came through Mexico. It lost its virulence in that the symptoms were much more mild. And that's what seems to be happening as it's making its way back through as a seasonal flu. So basically, the recommendation is the same as the seasonal flu. If you have continual fever for more than 3 hours, call your physician. If you have recurrence of fever after it goes away, if you have a high risk, including small children, consider calling your physician. Yeah. If you do have, let's say, a kid turns blue, has blue fingernails, go to the emergency room. But it's really, there's no difference between who to take to the emergency room or to the doctor versus a seasonal versus a swine flu. In fact, if you had to choose, you'd probably choose at this point the swine flu over the regular seasonal flu.
Is that right? All right, now what do you think of the vaccination?
You know, I have more concern about the vaccine than I do about the swine flu. It's been rushed to market. There are high levels of adjuncts which basically make it more potent, so they can, it's kind of an unrefined method that they use. They had to use these high levels of these adjuncts, including
thimerosal. It's an antiseptic preservative, and hasn't that been linked in some cases to autism?
It has, and you look, it's been shown to cause autism in children with mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, and other is controversial, though highly implicated. And the problem is you don't know if your child has mitochondrial dysfunction. I also worry about children and people who have blood-brain barrier dysfunction or it's not fully developed, which include children, pregnant women, chronic neurological illnesses, and chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. I've seen these people been devastated by these infections.
All right, would you give it to your kids?
I definitely would not.
You would not. All right. And in fairness, I've talked to 3 doctors in 3 days now, and all 3 have said absolutely they would give it to their kids. They intend to give it to their kids. They're going to take it themselves, but you say no.
I definitely would not. I've seen it devastate people with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, highly implicated, again, in autism. I think you're rolling the dice. It's a proven neurotoxin. It has 25,000 times the level of mercury than would be considered toxic if it was a food or water. Right. And levels get up, serum levels up to 100 times the toxic level. It's too big of a risk.
All right. Dr. Kent Holtorf, an expert on infectious diseases.
The World Health Organization has concluded that there is no evidence of toxicity from thimerosal in vaccines, and no reason on safety grounds to change to a more expensive single-dose administration. In the case of pregnant women and young children, please consider the following. As of July the 1st, 2007, under the Washington State Department of Health, the influenza vaccine mercury limit for pregnant women and children under 3 years is 1 microgram per 0.5 milliliter dose. The amount of mercury used in most multiviral swine flu vaccines is 25 micrograms per 0.5 milliliter dose. This is 25 times the level considered safe in normal circumstances. Is it surprising that there have been large amounts of severe reactions from the swine flu vaccinations, including multiple reports of women having miscarriages? Would you feel safe using any product from any company that uses mercury in any of its medicines at levels even close to what is permissible in normal circumstances, let alone many times above it? You may be interested to know that if the government chooses to inoculate New Zealanders using the cheaper multiviral swine flu vaccines, the ones they have chosen will contain 25 times the level of mercury normally allowable for pregnant women and young children. Is this what you want for your children? Due to the severe reactions, the Canadian authorities are conducting the appropriate investigations on the vaccines and have recalled a batch of vaccine from the GlaxoSmithKline company, a spokesman reported.